Welcome to the Daily David, episode number 5. I'm incredibly excited today to film a little bit faster on time, where it's only 11:13 here, New York City time. And if you're tuning in, we're going live daily at 8 o'clock Pacific. If you're on the West Coast in Seattle and Portland and Los Angeles, California, up and down the West Coast, if you're in Oregon, California, or in Washington State, or in Canada, or in Western Mexico, we're 8 o'clock. 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. And if you don't know what you're tuning into, today is the Daily David for December 8th. And I thought today what I'd do something differently is I would just simply put a very simple view of how I go about my news. And so what you're seeing on screen here is actually what we call the comment browser. And I absolutely love the comment browser for many reasons. A, because you get ChatGPT embedded, you can kind of see here's quantum topics. It helps me with a little bit of these descriptions, the news, etc. But what I'm really interested in sharing with you today is that we have a JetBlue news interesting expansion, and also Airbus software modifications after this crazy super flare. So I don't know if you saw the supernova, but basically what happened is that there was this supernova, okay? And what happened with JetBlue and the landing for the 30 people who got injured from the supernova. So there's this really crazy quantum thing that I guess happened, is that in our current news topics, which is that kind of the first session, is we're talking about the drop in altitude from this JetBlue flight, okay? So this JetBlue flight where the drop in altitude forced an emergency landing after 15 people, okay, we're talking about 15 people ended up getting injured. So what happened is that the Federal Aviation is actually saying that, okay, the Thursday flight left Cancun, it went to Newark, New Jersey, which is the exact airport that I fly in and out of. And on top of that, that the Federal Aviation said that the crew experienced flight control issue. And later, when they did a little bit deeper dive, they said actually that this was a potentially like a quantum energy portal. So what's interesting is that when you have quantum that hits, you have a very interesting phenomenon that happens, and your zeros and your ones can be switched. So from a computer point of view, when something was switched on, it's now switched off. It's very interesting that the space.com article that came out about this, I think we can actually look, see if there's a space.com article. Let's see, on here you can actually see, show me the space.com article. So this is, if you haven't downloaded this browser, by the way, it's really awesome. It is the ChatGPT browser. So while I'm browsing, I can actually ask ChatGPT. So there's this cosmic ray, right? Galactic particles may have forced a passenger jet to make an emergency landing. It's the Airbus A320. It just happened on October 30th. So I opened up this article, and I thought it was pretty interesting because galactic particles were basically, according to this space article, saying that the solar radiation levels were reaching a higher rate, unremarkable, but also that the electronics, it had nothing to do with the electronics, it was just the intense solar radiation. So it was super interesting. They grounded all the Airbuses, 6,000 of them, to roll out new software. But the truth is that this high energy particles from a distant supernova, what happened in late October, was affecting the microelectronics and change of the circuit. So I thought that this article is super interesting. Obviously, some of you know that I fly very often. I've been to over 100 cities this year. Really blessed and grateful to have the freedom of location. And this is an interesting news article to be sharing with the feed. So in other interesting news, Netflix actually buys Warner Brothers and Discovery in a $72 billion deal. So this is super interesting. Netflix is bringing Warner Brothers capability in-house. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with the bidding wars and the lawsuits that come from this. So this is literally just 1 hour ago. And then finally, in current news, we see that the inflation index rose less than expected in September. So that's actually good, showing a 2.8% annual rate, down from down 0.1% from August. So that's good. And we have, obviously on LinkedIn, you have top perspectives that come in here, which I love. And then Fanatics, which is a sports company that's typically known for custom apparel and licensing, actually launched a standalone prediction market. And what's fantastic about this is that Fanatics, the sportsbook company, which if you are a sports bettor or you love sports or you have ever attended a sporting event, there is a whole market for projecting when certain events will happen. And so this is very interesting. So this is how I generate my daily news. I thought I would share that with you. And that is the current news for the day. So now what we do is we go to quantum topics. And a very interesting thing happened where, as we're learning more about quantum topics, we're looking for people who want to be on the quantum aspect of this show. So if that's you, please send me a direct message. Looks like we've got some folks joining, which is wonderful. And by the way, if you've ever wanted to be on a podcast, would definitely love to have you on. And with that being said, the quantum topic for today is this JetBlue article. What's super interesting here is that the physicists from the space experts and whoever they are suggesting that the high energy particles from this star actually created a scenario in the physical realm where there were zeros and ones that were essentially changed and replaced. That's really interesting given that this week we're talking about superposition, which is exactly that concept. And we also talked about interference, and we also talked about entanglement. So these are the three main quantum topics. And as we continue to learn about them, we'll want to stay focused. And by the way, if you are an agency owner super randomly, I have a friend of mine named Austin Schneider, and he is a good friend who actually has a following on LinkedIn. And he actually just released some new training. And I think that is very valuable for scaling your agency. He scaled a video agency to multiple X figures per month. And I find it interesting to support my friends and people who I believe in. So just want to share that with you. If you haven't found Austin, go ahead and check him out. And that's a good segue to our third area of focus, which is AI and faith. And I'm not sure if you saw this from yesterday, but there was a very interesting ticker symbol that came out on the show. And I went back and I read the ticker symbol. I was like, oh, that is so interesting. So I'm talking about the AI and faith piece where we're actually seeing Christian leaders explore AI tools for global missions and multilingual teaching. But we're also actually seeing Jewish scholars examine the ethics of AI and halakhic decision making. And even more so, Muslim innovators launched an AI-powered Quranic study platform. So we're finding that we're actually getting people who are on multiple AI solutions utilizing the power of AI and technology for their faith. And then there's actually a Buddhist community that is testing an AI-guided mindfulness and compassion app where a Hindu institute integrates AI into their Vedic education programs. And of course, Catholics are developing AI frameworks for moral decision models based on the Catholic religion. So it's very interesting to see how each of the religions and faiths are advocating for organizations that are evidence-driven for AI policy worldwide. So if this is interesting to you, if you're seeing this for the first time, welcome to the live show. It is also going to be available in the replay, and I'm very thankful for that. Okay, finally, we have the last little bit of news, which is to say that the Cloudflare patches are providing additional security flaws. So it's just so interesting. If you haven't heard of Cloudflare, Cloudflare is the traffic redirection service that verifies valid traffic. And oftentimes you'll see, click here if you're a human. And then it kind of loads, kind of like the captcha behind the scenes. So what's interesting about that is if that goes down, then many of your websites are unable to pursue identity. And then you have essentially attack on identity verification. So from an ethics point of view, security and ethical identity management is incredibly important these days, especially as we see the surge of AI generated content. In fact, Reddit is reporting that there is a surge of AI robots posting AI generated content on Reddit. Now, why is that a particular issue? Because Reddit is a huge source for ChatGPT. In fact, Twitter and Reddit, which is user generated content, and has a little bit of a, let's just say, like a spiciness, online troll type of a like language style, in addition to, of course, all the written text that we have access to and all of the non-written texts that have not been digitized yet, which there are even in the Muslim culture some tens of millions of texts that are still handwritten scrolls, ancient artifacts that have not been digitized. So Reddit is reporting that there is a surge of AI generated content, which is super, super interesting, especially from an ethical point of view, because as you know, we have these feedback loops that pull in all this search engine, website stuff, social media, et cetera, on the internet, brings it into your AI models, and then kind of spits it out. Well, if we have that AI generation coming from the source, we have a referential integrity issue, which basically means we're using the name or the word in the definition of the word. So, for example, if you're looking up, say, tree on the dictionary, and someone says, okay, a tree is the type of a plant that looks like a tree and has branches like a tree and has leaves like a tree, and therefore it's a tree. So you would see referential integrity in that definition because you're now referencing the definition of what you're trying to define. And not to get too esoteric, but in this referential integrity piece, if Reddit is having input data that is trained by what? Its own Reddit data, then there will be a lot of things that will reference themselves internally. And you can see the spread of misinformation occur with something like that as well. So AI and faith, actually, if you haven't gone to the website, I'd encourage you to go. Here is what the website looks like. It is just a beautiful website. Our experts are here. You can search for experts by their title or their advisorship or whether they're contributing or research. And we have many experts, actually hundreds of them, so you can find them here. And then if you want to actually look at our strategic projects, we actually had one for the Misinformation Hub, where we actually define from our perspective what is misinformation and disinformation, what is the daunting problem behind this, what you can do about it, and why people of faith should care. I really like why people of faith should care because this is something that's just so fascinating. And I think the key thing here is that as I just zoom in here, and we also have all of our sources cited. So, understanding if something is satire or parody. So a lot of media will actually have these entertaining bits that are media, or even today we have deep fakes. So we want to understand the importance of that. And this is one of the benefits of being part of AI and faith. So as we close out this quick little bite, we're going to go to our last session of and segment of the show, which is called Beyond the Bag. So today, what I'm pulling out of my bag is my water bottle. And so this is a tin water bottle. Oops, I don't want to spill too much on my laptop here, but what I like about this water bottle, it's 18 fluid ounces. Okay, so it does have really good capacity. Water's delicious. And this is a 9.5 pH antioxidant, smart water. And I keep this water bottle because the water bottle itself is very lightweight. And so when you travel a lot or you're carrying something on your back, weight really does matter. And then it's also thin and narrow. So you can put this type of a thinner water bottle into places or like hold on to it in a way that it is not as bulky as it might be if it was a regular water bottle. And so that is our Beyond the Bag segment. I carry a small little water bottle like this with me everywhere. Staying hydrated is a part of a healthy habit, and it's what fuels me to keep going and keep moving. Okay, so that is the segment for today. Again, this is the LinkedIn Live Show. It is the power of going live on LinkedIn. This platform has billions of users this even week, over 25,000 impressions on just one of my posts, which is phenomenal. There's a lot of you out there reading and watching, which is awesome. And secondly, Many of you never comment or never engage. You're just watching, maybe looking for a new job or hanging out and checking out a colleague or, following up with a business partner or potential sales deal. So if you're on LinkedIn and you're hearing this and you haven't gone live yet on LinkedIn, I would encourage you to go live on LinkedIn and go live on YouTube, go live on Twitch, go live on Instagram, Kick, Facebook, all the platforms, and build up your voice, your personal brand, because that's one thing that will live forever is your personal brand. And that's why I go live on LinkedIn, because I want to be up to date with the latest news and trying out the latest platforms. And that's why we have the David Daily. All right. Well, with that, I will close out this session by saying I'm so grateful to Headset Advisor for being a sponsor of my headset, meaning they have given me a headset to test out. And in fact, it has the longest range and the best clarity. Of course, I carry it with me everywhere, as you would have seen from my first episode. Secondly, I do love my Rode mic. Right now, it is on my Persona, giving you high quality audio. It is my product from Beyond the Bag episode 4, I believe. And then finally, I do absolutely love Go High Level and Sybil, which is a note taker. You can go to sybil.ai and find Sybil, just like your syllabus from school. And with that, I will close out the show. This has been a wonderful. I hope you have a blessed Friday. It is December 5th. We only have 20 days left until Christmas. How wonderful. And I hope that you have a wonderful Friday and tune in to the next one. All right. Take care. See you tomorrow.